بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. Questions? طيب. The class will be starting now Maqasid Al-Sharia Al-Islamic. And if you have any question, please do not hesitate to ask. For some, Maqasid al-Sharia is a little bit challenging. And for some, they see it difficult. But just listen. You will understand it later, inshallah, for those who do not understand it now. The study of the Sharia sometimes looks like a puzzle. But the deeper you go, you find everything accurate, precise, relevant, and everything makes sense from the aspect on the right to the aspect on the other side. And everything, subhanAllah, explaining each other in a very amazing way. But the maqasid is not difficult at all. Some of the terms, and when you're gonna advance in the fiqh, inshallah, study ulum al-Quran, we have studied the introduction of usul al-fiqh, the hadith, and this comes like, on the top to understand how to put everything together in one global understanding, to understanding the system and the way of the legislation of the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't have the English book today, so I will not be referring, but you're going to find it, inshallah ta'ala, to the English one that we have. No, that's fine. Just to tell you where we're starting. In which page are you? 136. Fawzi, you can have it. I will. Just usually I refer because I had some feedback on the book that the English is kind of maybe not high level, maybe it's like from different way of thinking. Because when you read some countries who they speak the same language, but they think different, so their writing is the way they think. So when we live in the society, the English seems difficult. That sometimes you watch things, for example, in English, and you see them subtitles in English, because the way they speak, you cannot understand it sometimes. No. But the original book is in Arabic. That's why we study the Arabic book. And this is as a reference, not the original, because some of the texts also are not quite, let's say, conforming exactly with the spirit of the book. The spirit is fine, alhamdulillah, but in the meanings. طيب. عموم شريعة الإسلام. عموم شريعة الإسلام, as here in page 134, universality of the Islamic Sharia. And we started this chapter. One of the questions that we need to ask ourselves, are we saying Islam and its Sharia is universal because we are Muslims? Because this is our faith, our religion, so must be universal. Which is mean every follower of faith, he going to also claim that his own faith or the way he's following is universal. The answer to this question is no. It's not because we are Muslims that our Sharia is the best, or our Sharia is the most relevant, or the Sharia of Islam is the universal. And when we say the Sharia is the legislation, the way of life. The answer to this question is really comes with evidence. I say this Sharia, the legislation of Islam, the Islamic jurisprudence, is universal because of proofs, because of evidences. Say, what is the first evidence? What are these evidences? That's what you're going to talk about. So even for a Muslim, he needs to question, why am I a Muslim? So to not be on the following in a blind way, that then we will not have the opportunity to understand the beauty of Islam. Because when you dig and you ask, therefore you discover the beauty of Islam, and by discovering the beauty of Islam yourself, you be a better ambassador to the way of Islam. But if someone say Islam is universal to the day of judgment, but the one who wants to understand, you will not have the means to understand. Yourself, you don't understand. So it becomes like, one leaning toward the rigidity, and it could being like extreme. Why? Because that's it, no point, don't even talk. And that's not the way that someone to convey his message, or also to implement the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَّةً لِلنَّاسِ بَشِيرًا وَنَذِيرًا. In Surah Sabah, ayah 28. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to the Prophet, as he's saying here, to the whole humankind. Bashiran, giving the glad tidings, and warner. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ إِنِّي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ إِلَيْكُمْ جَمِيعًا. We need to understand first that Islam is the religion of the universe. And it is the religion of all the prophets. And every pious, righteous servant existed in this world before he's a Muslim. So we not say Muslim versus people of the book, or versus people pagan. No, Muslim is the religion for everyone. And it doesn't have a color. Its own color is the way of Allah, صبغة Allah. قال Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he given the proofs to the people of the book, when they claim that Ibrahim, some of them they claim Ibrahim is Jews, and the other they claim Ibrahim, the people, the Christian, that he's a Christian. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, how can he be Jew or Christian when Ibrahim came before Christianity and Judaism? But what Allah called Ibrahim? Muslim. ما كان إبراهيم يهوديا ولا نصرانيا ولكن كان حنيفا مسلما. The Islam, therefore, we have the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He have this very specification that he has only been granted to him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Being the last messenger, therefore his message is for the whole humankind. A message that it doesn't come to be like an Arabian message because he was sallallahu alaihi wasallam Arab. A message doesn't carry the aspect of a society of Bedouin or a society who lived in a desert. His message is universal message. Therefore, being universal message is not going to hold those aspects embedded into the message and into the Sharia. If not, the one who live in the cities or live in different society, he will not be able to adapt his way of life, mode of life, his tradition to what the Arab they used to do. The women they used to dress a certain way. A lady living in the Far East, she might not be able to, it's not her tradition. So I tell her, no, you have to, being Muslim, you have to change your clothing to a jilbab. You have to change your dwelling into khayma, for example, tent. So that's not. So to be universal, it needs to have principles that fit and goes with the natural disposition of a human being. A man is born free. That freedom, that inner sense, inner state that he has, that natural disposition. The religion, the way of Allah comes to take that, keep it innocent, and build on it in innocence and in a very deliberate way. You don't force it. That's why there is no compulsion in the deen. So those are evidence to make the Sharia to be universal. And this is here in the study of the intent of the Sharia will give us a very clear and broad picture of the beauty of the deen of Islam. And then you know that the universality of Islam is a fact. And it is a reality because the system, the way it's been founded, had those principles, has the ingredient to make it universal. He's saying here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will that Islam be the last of the message. Because is the Islam the way of the whole universe. And Islam is simply to submit or to bow someone's will to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال تعين أن يكون أصله الذي ينبني عليه وصفا مشتركا بين سائر البشر. So then we understand that if it is the last of the message, that its principle, its way must be then have the aspect that can be shared by the whole humankind. وَمُسْتَقِرًا فِي نُفُوسِهِمْ. The second one need to be embedded within their own self. No, we're not there. We're not. The ijtihad is going to come far later. We are in the very basic principle of the meaning of the way. So when we talking about the ijtihad, actually is based on the intent that we are studying the Maqasid. And the intent are elaborated or founded on these basic principles. And these basic principles you're going to see there are like few, which doesn't have any ijtihad in it. They are, as we studied in the beginning of the book, we said the Maqasid must be certain. It doesn't even have, kind of ijtihad in it. So the certainty of the principle that the Maqasid rely on must have the consensus of the whole Ummah, and it must be through the way of the istiqra that is everywhere in the Sharia. So it's like a spirit in the Sharia, like a soul in the Sharia. Like, for example, one of the most known and basic one is the Rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Rahmah travels everywhere. Still working. So the Rahmah, you find it is the name of Allah, attribute of Allah. Every Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala attribute and action has Rahmah. The book He sent is Rahmah, mercy. the message, the messenger he sent is Rahmah. So you find the mercy being present in all the aspects, from the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala to the messenger to the message. All of it is Rahmah. Therefore, one of the principles of the foundation of the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the Sharia, is mercy. Then when you find ways like someone wants to implement something and you see it like is fully conflicting the mercy, you say this is not from Islam. فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. If it wasn't the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala favor you with, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted you, لِنْتَ لَهُمْ, you'll be kind to them, close to them. That's why they are around you, the companion. And if you were to be someone like with the harsh, heart, rigid, tough, nobody will have stayed with you. So here, if you analyze this ayah from Surah Ali Imran, you kind of understand if the Prophet was sent with the harsh heart and rigid, it's like in this ayah Allah given the permission for those around him to be, not to be around him. فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if you had tough heart and rigid and not kind, so they will not stay with you. Who's saying this is Allah? So not being around you is like they have an excuse. So when they come on the day of judgment, why you didn't follow the Prophet? Oh Allah, he wasn't merciful. You understand? But the Prophet ﷺ, this is for us to understand. But what the quality and the attribute of the Prophet ﷺ? قال وكان بالمؤمنين رؤوفا رحيما. Not only Rahim, Ra'uf. He always think about them. His heart is with them. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So the rahmah doesn't have ijtihad in it. For example, you say, we need to make ijtihad, use the rahmah here or not. No, the rahmah is embedded into the system of Islam, the mercy. So the universality starts with attributes, aspects that it really need to be shared by every human being. And to be part of themselves, embedded in themselves. That's why the Islam starts from where? From the fitrah. And we studied the meaning of the fitrah, right? It's the natural disposition of the human being. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created man on the fitrah. And the fitrah is this natural disposition that it had the light set into the system of our creation to know that there's no creator except Allah. Everyone born on that. The soul that we have already gave the oath to Allah that Allah is the Lord. وَإِذْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِنْ بَنِي آدَمَ مِنْ ظُهُورِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَأَشْهَدَهُمْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ أَلَسْتُ بِرَبِّكُمْ قَالُوا بَلَى. Behold, Allah took from Adam and his dhurriyyah, from their backbone, their offspring. Would you say their backbone? Which is talking about DNA. So they were in state of souls. And how they going to come? Allah make them witness, am I not your God, your creator? They said yes. But this is in our subconscious. قال ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها. Those can't embedded on the top, but everyone knows and appreciates the good and hates and disguise the evil. Why people don't like the bully person? Or they're scared from him if he has he's someone who's unjust. Why people they like the generous person, the brave person, the person with courage? Is embedded in us. People there feel like relaxed and joyful with light, scared in darkness. Can you imagine the guidance of Allah? Call it darkness, or call it light. And in the light you feel good. Why? Why you don't feel good in darkness? Well, the evil people, they feel good in darkness. So all of this is the fitrah. The fitrah is, or aspect, some of the aspect of the fitrah. That's why here قال, the embedded part in us with this fitrah, natural disposition, قال مستقرة في نفوسهم ومرتضاة عليه العقول السليمة منهم. And people with the sane intellect, they will accept it. They will accept it. As many times, if you talk to people with have reasoning, don't tell them it's Islam. Talk to them about your way. They say, I like this philosophy. Brother Muhammad, you remember when I came, Jazakallah khair, Brother Muhammad, he invited us to a place in Eden Prairie. So they have a question and answer. One of the old person, I think he's a retired professor. They're like, yeah. So he said, you know what he said? He told me, I believe in your philosophy. I told him it's not a philosophy, it's a faith. He told me, I know, but your philosophy, I believe in it. So even though, everyone he has his own denomination or faith, but when they listen, they say, this makes sense. So why you say believe in philosophy? Because it makes sense. It makes sense. And when it makes sense, every soul will accept it. So things that make sense, you will not fight to end it. You will not fight to accept it. Someone when he'll give you and he will be like generous with you, you with full in a deliberate way you thank him. You want to hug this person. It's in nature. You don't force yourself to thank him. No, subhanAllah, it's spontaneous. And thus the Sharia is built on that natural disposition. Al-Fitrah. Therefore, all the foundation of the law of the Sharia is based on that natural is founded on that natural disposition of human being. Therefore, it will be fully accepted. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make everything easy. قَالَ يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرِ. Allah wants for you ease. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put hardship in the religion, no one will follow. And then we mentioned why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just to connect with what we have studied before Ramadan, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the environment of an Arabic environment. And one of the elements that the author rahimahullah mentioned, the environment or the Arab society, it was kind of isolated from the whole world. You see, subhanAllah, there's the knowledge. The knowledge can be, mixed, some of it contaminated with a lot of disease. When we talk about disease, intellectual disease, magic, sorcery, black magic, it was before knowledge. People, they use it to control other people. So people, you find them, they want to learn such a thing. And maybe some of you, especially the youth, they see like a lot of novels or movies, they talk about that is like something, people, they look forward to have it, right? Why? Because it has power, it has to know wisdom, secrets. So there's a lot of knowledge. Then you have like political knowledge, you have, philosophy, you have a lot of accumulation of knowledge, good and bad, peaceful and evil, all together, mixed together, which is make, subhanallah, difficult for pure light to come, to be understood without that accumulation mountain of mixed, confused knowledge. Therefore, this light needs to be received by people who still innocent and pure, the closest to the natural inner disposition. They were the Arab at that time, because they were in the desert. No one even thinks to invade them. They don't have. The oil at that time is not known. So that's what he said. They have 4 qualities: جودة الأذهان، قوة الحوافظ، بساطة الحضارة والتشريع، والبعد عن الاختلاط ببقية العالم. جودة الأذهان, fine minds. They were, subhanallah, they will have very fine minds, because they didn't mix with anybody else. And they'll have, this ability to say poetry, the ability to say, like, to use the figure of speech, one of the quality for people to have to be at high artistic level, either in writing, script, or doing things. It's that ability of innovating, of ibtikar. And that's, subhanallah, for example, people, when they give you example, parables, those parables require reflection, require wisdom. This society, they have it from generation. So if you read their poetry, they have kind of figure of speech, and parable is amazing, mesmerizing. So they have this quality of fine mind. The second one, they have قوة الحفظ. So this fine mind help them to understand easy the revelation. قال قوة الحوافظ, they have a very strong ability of memorization. As there weren't people who, among them, there's the majority, they were illiterate. The illiteracy here related to the writing, but not to the knowledge. They have a lot of people of wisdom, and they used to have a very strong memory. You find, as some of the narration being narrated in the time before the coming of the Prophet ﷺ, you find small young children running in the street. They will be reciting poems with 1,000 verses. Very strong. And they have a kind of knowledge that doesn't exist. You see now they have on new kind of, I will not say, people that are more now fond or find them looking forward to find their ancestor, their ancestor. Even there where they have some services they offer on the internet to check your ancestry, or like your, your ancestors and everything. This is a knowledge that existed among the Arab. One of the very knowledgeable in this knowledge of the ansab was Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. So they have, with their capacity of memory, to know every tribe and the name of the shuyukh of all the tribe, or the fathers, and their ramification, and the sons and the grandsons and the forefathers. They know all the names, which later on helped this knowledge to follow the detection of the narrator, helping in the authentication of the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So جودة الأذهان, جودة الأذهان, then the strong memory. قال, and also the strong memory helped to not have confusion or mixing in receiving the revelation, because The Prophet ﷺ was illiterate. That was one of the quality of the Prophet ﷺ, and was one of the aspects for the Prophet ﷺ to absorb the whole revelation without putting or adding any idea. So he was the perfect receiver of the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by adding the attribute of being illiterate in the Prophet, which was a quality for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. قال the بساطة الحضارة, they have a very simple civilization, very kind of primitive, and this is with help for the revelation to help them change easy. Someone, for example, who has a lot of money in his cars and have things, and when you teach him to have like renounce to the dunya and be humble, it's going to be difficult for him. When someone is going to repent, he said he make all his fortune from haram. He said one of the conditions of repentance is to get rid of this fortune because all from haram. It's going to be difficult. But these people, they didn't have much, and everything was primitive. So they were ready to change and easy for them to change. And the last one that we already talked about earlier, وَالْبُعْدُ عَنِ الْإِخْتِلَاطِ بِبَقِيَّةِ أُمَمِ الْعَالَمِ, and they are far from, having mixing with the other civilization. So they didn't have anything from the other civilization, which they kept their fitrah in the end. When we talk about the fitrah, very innocent, pure, and ready to be molded in the right way. And then this is in the first 2 pages that he's mentioned about. Here, Jazallah Khair, Brother Fawzi is underlined them. Fine minds, strong memory, simplicity, and simple also civilization and legislation, and far from the association with other nations of the world. And one of the most important thing in a legislation that the laws of the jurisprudence will be able to be applicable on all the nations. Because he said لأن التماثل في إجراء الأحكام والقوانين عول على حصول الوحدة الاجتماعية في الأمة. Because when you have the same laws, it's going to help to the unity, the social unity. And the social unity, if you going to build the laws very specific to certain nation, then you cannot be copied by other nation. So these laws need to be not into the details, but more in the principles. Cannot be in the way of dressing. It's going to put hardship on people. But maybe the way on the appearance, be clean. Not how to dress. When you dress, be clean. Be clean, gather the whole humankind. Be modest, gather the whole humankind. But I say, wear a qamis, then you can be modest. That is going to make hardship for people. Because people, for example, nation, look at this qamis and say, we never wore these things. Can you put them on a hardship? This is a very example. But they say, wear what you're going to wear, but in a modest way. That's why no one forced or enforced on our people, in the region of the Indian Pakistani, to wear what the ladies in Arabia they used to wear, jilbab. They kept their way of dressing, but make it modest, clean. Modesty and cleanliness will apply on every nation and every society, but not to give a name to modesty with a certain dress up. Say, if you dress this way, it means modest. If you don't dress this way, it don't mean modest. The Prophet ﷺ, when he saw Asma, he said, when a woman gets to this age, she has to cover herself. Only what will be seen from her, the face and the hands. He didn't say cover yourself with the jilbab, cover. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ مِنْ جَلَابِيبِهِنَّ. It was a wasf to those particular women living in that society. But when you make the analogy, you make the analogy in the hikmah, أَدْنَ أَنْ يُعْرَفْنَا. So they will not be known. So they will be known that they are this noble women to be respected. Therefore, you use that wisdom, but not to have women from different nations to wear what the women of the company they used to wear to fulfill this hukum. No, the wisdom of it is how they will be known to be respected. ولهذه الحكمة والخصوصية جعل الله هذه الشريعة مبنية على اعتبار الحكم والعلل. For that reason, Allah made this Sharia to have its laws founded on wisdom, founded on reason. And the reason is why you are implementing the hukum. The goal, the intent, the wisdom. Because a law that it doesn't have wisdom, doesn't have benefit, doesn't have advantage, doesn't have, maslaha. That's why you say maslaha. So the law always is either to gain a benefit or to stop a mafsada, something, a corruption, a harm. If the law doesn't have this objective, doesn't fulfill its objective, therefore it become like it doesn't have a meaning. And then it becomes a dhulm. I say, this door, nobody enter from this door. It's a new law. So when someone is going to enter, say, no, stop, it's forbidden. You're going to say, why? So the answer, because. That's dhulm. All right. He didn't give any reason. But if you give reason, because of this, though I understand, you'll accept it. He said, okay, jazakallah khair. You're going to go and enter from the other door. So this is how the Sharia is built, with ilal, with hikam. And العلة قال العلة هو السبب المؤثر في إنشاء الحكم. Is the reason that affect to found the hukum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the intoxication, the intoxicant drinks or whatever intoxicant haram, because the illah is the intoxication. If someone, for example, take a bottle red and everything and drink it, say it's haram what you drink and it's red. I said, but this is not intoxicant. This is grape juice. It's not wine. So Allah made that particular drink haram because not of his color, not on the type of the bottle that being filled in, but because of the effect of intoxication into this drink. Therefore, even other things, they don't have the same color, they don't have the same type of packaging of things. It's haram. Why? Because it's intoxicant. If you bring it like in a bottle of gold, it's still haram. Why? Because it's intoxicant. قال وقد أجمع علماء الإسلام في سائر العصور على أن علماء الأمة مأمورون بالاعتبار في أحكام الشريعة والاستنباط منها وجعلوا من أدلة ذلك قوله تعالى فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم. It is upon all the scholars of the Sharia from the Salaf is to look upon the wisdom of the ahkam of the Sharia. and to make their mechanism of extracting the new laws based on the ahkam. And to have their way is to fear Allah the best of your ability. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. And then Allah قال فَاعْتَبِرُوا يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. Reflect and get the lesson, all people of understanding. And هُوَهُمَا دَلِيلَانِ خِطَابِيَانِ. So this is two evidence that Allah addressed the Ummah with. To reflect, to contemplate, and to do the thing at the best of your ability of enjoying good and forbidding evil, and targeting the maslahah and pushing away the mafsada. Based on that, you see a lot of principles, a lot of general rules in the Sharia and in the Quran. I will give, as he given an example here, in the same chapter of course. قال ومن آثار ذلك ورود الكليات الكثيرة في القرآن. Example: يريد الله بكم اليسر. Allah wants for you ease. Surah Al-Baqarah 185. وقوله تعالى والله لا يحب الفساد. Allah doesn't accept mischief, corruption. Baqarah 205. وقوله ليقوم الناس بالقسط. We send down this for people to stand and deal with the justice, with fairness, with balance. Surah Al-Hadid 25. وقوله وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاةٌ يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. And you have, in the way of implementing the law of Al-Qasas, you're creating lives, all people of understanding. So the law of Allah of soul for soul and eye for eye, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, oh people of understanding, you reflect on this. If you implement it, you're creating life. Because by implementing this law, you're going to prevent a lot of lives to be wasted or to be killed. وفي الأحاديث, also in the ahadith and the tradition of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. مثل قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن دماءكم وأموالكم وأبشاركم عليكم حرام. In خطبة الوداع. And this is and the long khutbah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Al-Hajj. So he said, your blood, your money around you, your wealth is haram. You cannot take anyone money or slay anyone or transgress anyone among you. It's haram. It's forbidden. So these, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam make a general and exhaustive and universal law. The saying of the Prophet ﷺ, ما أسكر كثيره فقليله حرام. Whatever drink or any substance consumed in a big quantity leads to intoxication, therefore the small quantity of it is haram. If someone drink a drink, a whole bottle make him to be drunk. A drop from that bottle is haram. This is very general hadith. وقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا ضرر ولا ضرار. لا ضرر, do not harm and do not cause to harm. Or not, you do not harm anyone, and also you not let anyone to harm you. Or you not cause by your action things other to be harmed. All of that is a very universal hadith and principle in the Sharia. So we have a lot in the Quran from this ayat, which give us this spirit of intent in the whole Sharia of Islam. وما كان من التشريعات جزئيا. You want you to check which part I'm reading? It depends on the hadith. أبشاركم من البشرة. أجسامكم, it might be that. But someone need to go to the hadith because the hadith, no one doesn't have this wording, which is might be a gharib word. I'll get you the whole hadith next time. And when it comes to the part of the Sharia that it might be juz'iyya, which is not amma. Juz'iyya is different or opposing the opposite of amma. Amma is general. Juz'iyya might be like only touching partial. قال وهي قضايا الأعيان يحتمل أن يراد تعميمه ويحتمل أن يراد تخصيصه. I mean, let me see here. He mentioned here the أبشاركم. He explains it by honor. That's why in another hadith قال أعراضكم. So I don't know this hadith. طيب. So here we are in page 137. But starting 138, the Prophet here, the author talking about certain issue, for example, that sometimes specify certain circumstances that can be generalized and sometimes cannot. Example here. قال ولعل هذا النوع هو الذي نهى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن كتابته. Some of the ahadith that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم prohibited to write. قال لا تكتبوا عني غير القرآن. Don't write anything except the Quran. But in another hadith, he said, gave someone will write for Abi Kabsha because he asked, Ya Rasulullah, I need to remember. So they told him, he said, write for him. But in the other hadith, he said, do not write anything except the Quran. And here, the author said, it might be the order of the Prophet ﷺ to only write the Quran is because of this type of issues. And he's going to give us an example. قال لأبي شات اكتبوا لأبي شات قال خشية أن تتخذ الجزئيات الخاصة كليات عامة. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ is concerned that it might be an issue that solves certain specific circumstances. So if it's going to be written and then reported on behalf of the Prophet, people, they take it as universal. That's why many of the companions, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim, you see in some of the hadith, they say, Ya Rasulullah, is for him khassa aw lana amma? So when someone asks him a question, and the Prophet ﷺ answered, and the answer that everyone wish to implement it after they heard the answer, like the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ about how to get rid of the worry and sorrow. So the Prophet ﷺ was teaching this hadith, I think, Wallahu A'lam, to Al-Abbas. So the companion, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim, when they heard the hadith that is going to help for someone to give him relief from the worry and the anxiety he has, they told him, Ya Rasulullah, Allahu khasa am lana amma? To only him or to every one of us? He said, to every one of you. So the companion also, they understood that there is ahkam that might be specific for that particular issue, specific for that particular person, or for everyone. And then the Prophet ﷺ, that's why he used to say, do not write anything. But when someone requested, as later on he said, قال ولذلك احتاج المسلمون إلى صدور إذن من الرسول. They needed then a permission from the Prophet ﷺ. حين أراد أبو شاه أن يكتب له قول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في تحديد الحرم فقال لهم اكتبوا لأبي شاه. Abu Shah, he want to know the boundaries of the haram for the ihram. They said write for Abu Shah. So he gave the permission to write for the specific saying that the Prophet ﷺ is going to say. And he's saying here, that's why there's difference of opinion, a lot of difference of opinion among the scholars when it comes to the individual issues solved by the Prophet in his time. Should we take it at that individual level and not generalize it to the rest of the ummah, or generalize it? So it depends. Here, I'll finish with this, inshallah, giving us an example. قال here about الشفعة, is not here. بأخبار إذا خالفت أي الكليات اللفظية أو خالفت قياس أو خالفت عمل أهل المدينة على مذاهب معروفة في أصول الفقه. طيب, he's going to give us an example. We'll do it later, inshallah ta'ala. But the moral of the paragraph here, that these individual issues that been solved on the time of the Prophet ﷺ should be generalized or not. And this is what require reflection and require to go back to the intent of the Sharia to generalize it or not. And that's why he's saying there's a lot of difference of opinion between the scholars. And by understanding the Maqasid of the Sharia will help to always preserve these principles, this foundation who can implement on everyone. The next point that he mentioned, which is very important, when it comes to the habit of people, their tradition, the mores and customs of different people, those cannot be part of universality. So, what will be in the laws of the Sharia to embrace this tradition? Because Islam, when it comes to a nation, is a rahmah. The rahmah will not enroot the nation from its tradition. They honor their tradition, as long as this tradition doesn't conflict with the principle or the laws of the Sharia. So subhanallah, that's why we have in the Sharia, when we look at the different categories of the laws of the Sharia, we have 5, right? We have the haram, which is the forbidden. We have the makruh, which is the disliked. We have the wajib or fard, which is the obligatory. And we have the al-mustahab, which is the recommended, or as-sunnah, or al-mandub. The 5th category is the mubah. And everyone has an impact toward your record and your consequence, or like into your record in the Day of Judgment. Just in very brief reminder for all of you. The haram is when someone will do it, he will imply and result on a punishment in the hereafter. If he will refrain from not doing it, Allah will reward him. The makruh, if he will not do it, he will be rewarded. If he will do it, he will not be blamed. The recommended, if he will do it, he will be rewarded. If he will not do it, he will not be blamed. The obligatory, if he will do it, he will be rewarded. If he will not do it, he will be punished and blamed. There's the category of al-mubah, the lawful. If you do it, you're not going to be rewarded. And if you not do it, you're not going to be blamed. Therefore, the more that the customs, they're going to be embraced by the field of the mubah. People, they have, certain festivity, certain dress up in the day of the Eid. This is mubah. You can do it. They have certain color to dress with. Mubah. Certain food that they cook. Mubah. As long as it's not mixed with something haram, is mubah. So all of that, those type of the tradition, the Islam embraced them into the mubah. So to keep that identity of the nation, because Islam is not the intent of the Islam to change the identity of people, to change their tradition. It's to cleanse them, purify them, and take them up with what they have. Give you an example, which one of the scholars was mentioning. Look at the architecture of the masjid. It has the print of the tradition in it. Even the arch. Even here in the US, if you find, like you see a masjid, you see those who been involved in the architecture is from which part of the Muslim world. Why? Because Islam didn't tell them you have to have this, shapes, Islamic shape. There's no Islamic shape. That's the mubah. Build a masjid, beautiful masjid. I mean, in Mali, they have the masjid built out of tin, right? Every year subhanAllah, that's the nature, is arise from their own tradition. So you find, if you look the mosques built in Al-Andalus, for example, in the part of the world like in Egypt or in Sham, and look in India and in those parts, it's different. This is, subhanAllah, to show you that Islam, when it comes, he doesn't enroot the society, which we're going to study it more, but he will take that as, leave it in the word, in the field of the mubah. It's mubah. You can do it, there's no problem. طيب. We'll see where we can stop so we can do some of the suluk. Huh? That's what he's saying here. Let me see in which page he's saying here. Yes. In page 138, paragraph number 3. Accordingly, giving a special consideration to the mores and custom of different peoples, refutes claim of binding and universal legislation. This objective is accommodated in the legislative default of permissibility, which is the mubah, the lawful part, on the basis of which each human group can enjoy living according to its customs. Nevertheless, since the basis of permissibility is that what is permissible does not contain an indispensable maslaha or a serious mafsada, as long as the tradition or the mubah, it doesn't have that, part of the maslaha or part of the mafsada, which constitute the core or the heart of the meaning of the law of the Sharia. Because if it has maslaha, benefit, then it's going to be recommended. If it has a mischief, then it's going to be haram. In Somalia, the sambusa is still halal, right? Tradition. So when Islam say, Alhamdulillah, I became Muslim, but I cannot eat sambusa anymore. You see? Or I cannot wear this. This one, 138, yes. Sell it here.
The Sharia is that rules and commands should apply equal to all human beings as far as possible. How do you phrase that one? I mean,
Well,
like we live Muslim right now.
no, this is the essence of the laws itself, which is, I explain it, to be that way, the law need to be arise from the inner nature, from the fitrah. That's why I always say, the new revert to Islam, what they say, the first thing they say. No, the first thing they say, why did you come to Islam? He said, it makes sense. What does it mean? It makes sense. It goes with the inner nature. Everyone said it makes sense. Very simple answer. Why did you come to Islam? Say it makes sense. I find it makes sense. That's what exactly he said. Any other question? Yes, brother. Well, it depends on the laws of the Sharia. I mean, that we're talking about the general tradition and customs that is like constitute kind of the identity of this nation. The way of dressing, the way of, their dishes, the way of greeting. There's a lot of things, subhanAllah, when Islam didn't change. But when there's a tradition or culture, the problem is when we force the law to submit to the culture, that's becomes, distortion of the law. When there's a tradition, for example, of sacrifice, that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it haram. There's tradition in Jahiliyyah of certain type of marriage. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala avoid them all, kept the marriage that we know today. So when their tradition have mafsada, those are going to be stopped because Islam come to help this nation to save them from those ill tradition that they have. Like Amr ibn al-As, when we finish with this, inshallah, and when he get to Egypt, he find that the people over there, they sacrifice a young lady to a Nile, to the river of the Nile, so the Nile will be always giving them water, will be running and flowing with a lot of water for their agriculture, to water and their fields. So I said, hold on, we cannot do this. This is Islam. We cannot sacrifice. This doesn't make sense. This is haram. So they take one of the noble family. They will give their daughter to be sacrificed to the Nile. So it's like a big festivity for that day, for this ritual, and they throw this innocent, young lady to drown as, for the Nile to give them the water. So he sent to Umar radiallahu ta'ala. He told him, I have an issue, help me to. So the Umar radiallahu ta'ala, he wrote a letter, he sent it to Nile, to the river of Nile. The meaning of the letter, he said, from Amir al-Mu'mineen, from Abdullah, the servant of Allah, Amir al-Mu'mineen Umar ibn al-Khattab, ila Nili Masr, to the river Nile of Egypt. O Nile, if you are running by your will, we don't need you. If you are running by the will of Allah, then run. So he sent the letter, just subhanallah, for people to feel, because people very close to pagan beliefs. So Amr ibn al-As, he received the letter and he gathered the people And he told them, this is the cure of what you're having. This is the message from Amir al-Mu'mineen. And he threw it in the Nile. And subhanAllah, that year they have the double of the crop that they usually have. By the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course. So this is our customs that are ill tradition. This is custom of injustice. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Islam save people from these ill customs. But the custom that Islam embrace are that identity that people, you cannot change them. You cannot change the way, people, they grow up here with hamburger. You cannot say, no, you have to eat, dishes. That's there. So that is a culture, right? Islam embrace it. And this is a small example, especially for those kids who growing up here. Any other question? Because I remember one of the father who did the dish, like from back home, and he presented to his kids. Everyone feel like disgusted. He was shocked. He said, we have best at home. I said, what do you want? He said, can you order for us hamburgers? So, change. Different tradition. طيب. Any question? Do you want to read or you want to stop? Many of you seem tired. Just see from where we stopped, and if you have a question. Any question? تفضل.
There was just in tradition, I think we talked about that. There was a tradition in Somalia that people believe that the two groups come from two different areas and they fix each other. Some people dying there, and the government is stopped one time, and they say during that time there was no rain at all, and the river was dry and all this.
They think what?
No, the government is stopped for dealing with each other. Then during like 4 or 5 years, and they say, I wasn't a witness, but that's what they say. For these 5 years, there was no rain raining, and the area was dry, the river was dry. Yeah. Then the government allowed them again to do this.
To do what?
To fight each other, to fight to the speed.
So fighting bring the rain.
Feel like coming one from this and one from the people get fighting, some people die. The very custom.
They used to fight with like a knife or like a baseball bat.
Yeah.
But the government changed and kept it at least you have to do like a small stick. So the river will run. If they don't do that fighting, the river will stop.
So that they say this is dry.
So they need a letter from Umar.
They call it stunk, so one language.
Huh?
They call it stunka.
Stonker.
That's what I remember.
I think they need a letter from Umar. It doesn't run with the... Allah يحفظك. So the government is recommending for them to fight, but with small sticks?
Yeah, because of your small stick.
Not hurt yourself.
I remember also, yeah, we used to go like fun. Today we can play like stunky.
Like even people going and just watch.
Subhanallah. طيب إن شاء الله. If you have a question, we'll postpone the book of التحفة العراقية في أعمال القلوب to the next time بإذن الله. We don't want to start and I have just 5 minutes to read what we have. But if you have any question, please do. If you have any question, please do. Yes.
How would this relate to interfaith difference, especially when there's blue veil?
I saw that the comment. We'll answer next time. Cannot gather two different faiths in doing one prayer. But what happened in the book of the fiqh that we've been studying, that in a nation, Muslim nation, so they will be in different place because they want to have totally different ritual. So it depends. It depends on the circumstances, depends on the occasion. But having one prayer, no, it is not. It's not accepted. طيب جزاكم الله خيرا وبارك الله فيكم. And we resume inshallah التحفة العراقية next time بإذن الله تعالى. A question? Oh, the announcement. Yes, please give us 1-2 minutes.
Bismillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. I'd just like to let everybody know, inshallah, for those that did not take the exam, you have until the end of this month to contact the office and set up a time and date that works for you, inshallah, and you'll come and take the exam. Again, you have until the end of this month to take that exam. For those that did take the exam has already been graded. We cannot give out the exam, but we can tell you your score, inshallah. If you'd like to know your score, you can stop by at the office and we'll let you know the score, inshallah. But then the exam will be given after everybody has taken the exam, inshallah, so that you can look over and see what you got wrong and what you got right, inshallah. Also, we'd like to let everybody know to make sure that you're up to date with your filing and with your registration, also your payments. We won't be giving out the exams for those that are 2 months behind for payments, or for those that haven't finished their registration process. So please make sure that you're up to date for that, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum. So you guys are dismissed, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.